Let me ask you something powerful today. What if I told you that your mind is the thermostat for your entire life? Not the thermometer, the thermostat. That means it doesn't just report your conditions, it sets them. If your life is stuck at room temperature, average income, average energy, average relationships, it's because your mindset is set to average. Your future isn't waiting on your money, your education, or your background. It's waiting on your mind to finally believe you deserve it. Because the truth is, you've already walked past doors that were meant to open for you. You've stood in rooms that had space for your voice, but your mind whispered, not yet. And so you played small. You waited for permission. You convinced yourself that the opportunity was for someone else, someone smarter, richer, louder, more connected, but it was never about them. It was always about what you believed about you. There are people with less experience, less talent, and fewer resources who are living the life you keep dreaming about. Not because they're better, but because they believed sooner. They believed when they had no evidence. They acted when it was inconvenient. And that belief turned into momentum. That mindset became their fuel. Meanwhile, you've been caught in a mental loop, replaying old failures, echoing childhood wounds, and carrying the weight of what others said you could never be. You've mistaken delay for denial. But your delay was never about the world not giving you a chance. It was your own belief system refusing to hand you the keys. Deep down, you know there's something powerful inside you. You feel it every time you see someone else rise. You feel it in those quiet moments when the world is asleep, but your dreams are loud. That unrest you feel, that tug in your chest, that's your future calling out, saying, I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just waiting for you to believe we're possible. You've been taught to measure readiness by what's in your bank account or your resume. But real readiness is a decision. It's a moment when you say, I don't have it all, but I have enough to begin. Because no amount of strategy can compensate for a mind that doesn't believe it's worthy of success. You can attend every seminar, hire every coach, read every book, but if your mind is still chained to doubt, nothing moves. Your feet don't follow your goals, they follow your identity. And that identity lives in the thoughts you feed every day. Think about the years you've spent preparing, waiting, hesitating, all because some part of you thought you had to earn the right to succeed. But what if the only thing you ever needed was permission from yourself? What if the only difference between you and the version of you that's thriving was a shift in how you saw your own worth? You don't need the world to tell you you're enough. You need to wake up and decide that your past no longer has the authority to define your potential. Not your upbringing, not your failures, not the rejections, only your decision right now gets to decide who you become next. The future doesn't respond to talent. It responds to truth. The truth about who you really are. The truth you've buried beneath fear, excuses, and silence. The truth that says you were never broken. You were just believing a broken story. And the moment your mind starts telling a new story, a powerful, unapologetic, worthy story, everything around you begins to shift. The world starts to mirror what you finally see in yourself. The future doesn't open to the loudest person, it opens to the most aligned. And alignment begins in your mind. You were not born to blend in with broken thinking. You were born to break cycles, shift legacies, and live out loud. But somewhere along the way, the noise of the world convinced you to shrink. It told you to be realistic, to stay quiet, to color inside the lines. And every time you tried to dream bigger, that noise turned into doubt, dressed up as advice. Be careful. Don't aim too high. People like us don't get to do things like that. You didn't start thinking small because it made sense. You started thinking small because that's what you were taught survival looked like. But survival was never your mission. You were built for transformation. There is a reason you've always felt slightly out of place in average conversations. A reason why mediocrity makes you restless. Deep down, your soul knows that your existence was never about maintaining what is, it's about creating what could be. That tension you feel when you settle isn't discomfort. It's the truth trying to wake you up. It's the call of the life you were designed to live, and it won't stop ringing just because you keep pressing mute. You don't come from a line of defeat, even if that's all you've seen modeled. You come from resilience, from strength, from breath that refused to quit even when it didn't have answers. Your ancestors, your bloodline, your story, they may be scarred, but they are sacred. And you were placed in this moment, in this generation, to do what they couldn't. You weren't born to repeat cycles of fear, poverty, shame, or silence. You were born to confront them, to rewrite them, and to make sure those coming after you don't have to fight the same demons you did. Every time you rise above the mental scripts you inherited, you rewrite history. Every time you choose faith over fear, boldness over approval, purpose over people-pleasing, you shift something that goes deeper than your own goals. You become a living example of what's possible. You become the proof that transformation isn't just a buzzword, it's a legacy move. And yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's hard. But the weight on your shoulders is not a burden, it's a blueprint. There will always be people who tell you to slow down, but their comfort is not your calling. You weren't built to play the background while the world repeats the same patterns. You were made to rise, to disrupt, to lead with light, even when your voice shakes, even when you feel like an imposter, even when your own mind tries to argue against your destiny. Because breaking cycles doesn't come with applause. It comes with resistance. It comes with nights where you question everything, but it also comes with moments of breakthrough, with glimpses of the future that remind you why you started. So no, you were never meant to blend in. That discomfort you've felt your whole life, that pull to go against the grain, to say what others won't, to dream bigger than your surroundings, that was never rebellion. That was your purpose trying to speak up. And the more you listen, the louder it gets. The more you walk in alignment, the more the right doors start to open. Because cycles only get broken when someone is bold enough to believe they can be. And you've been chosen to be that someone. Your mind is a battlefield, and the war is between who you've been and who you were always meant to become. Every single day, there's a fight taking place inside your thoughts. A silent war between the old story that's kept you small and the new identity that's trying to rise. The old version of you wants comfort, safety, and predictability. It wants to avoid risk, keep the peace, and stay hidden. But the version of you that was born from more, the version you feel in flashes and glimpses, is pushing against that resistance. It doesn't want to survive anymore. It wants to soar. You can feel the tension between the two every time you get close to a breakthrough. Right before you take a leap, your old self shouts, "Who do you think you are?" That voice isn't trying to destroy you, it's trying to protect you based on outdated programming. It learned fear when you were hurt. It learned silence when you were dismissed. It learned hesitation when you were rejected. But just because that programming helped you survive back then doesn't mean it should guide your life now. Growth is uncomfortable because it forces you to let go of the only version of yourself you've ever known. There's a reason why your dreams scare you, not because they're impossible, but because they threaten the identity your mind has been clinging to. That identity has walls. It has boundaries. It has rules like don't shine too bright, don't ask for too much, and don't make them uncomfortable. But your calling doesn't fit inside those walls. It never has. And every time you ignore it, every time you shrink to make others feel safe, a part of you goes silent, not dead, just quiet, waiting for you to come back and remember who you really are. This is the war most people lose. Not because they're weak, but because they think the presence of fear means the dream isn't meant for them. But fear isn't proof you're on the wrong path. Sometimes it's the clearest sign you're heading in the right direction. Your old self screams the loudest when it feels like it's losing control. And in those moments, your job is not to fight harder, it's to believe deeper, to trust that the discomfort is a doorway, not a dead end, to walk through the storm of your own doubts and come out wearing the strength you never knew you had. The mind is powerful, but it's also programmable. And the thoughts that dominate your mind today will shape the person you wake up as tomorrow. If your mental playlist is full of limits, shame, and hesitation, then don't be surprised when your life reflects that. But if you start feeding your mind truth, even when you don't feel it, you begin to rewire your reality. Slowly, the voice of doubt fades, the voice of truth grows, and the battlefield starts to shift in your favor. You were not born with a defeated mind. You inherited patterns, beliefs, and fears that were never yours to keep. And now in this season, you are being called to confront them, to break the loop, to let the old version of you rest. Not because it was wrong, but because it's no longer needed. There is a deeper version of you that's been fighting to emerge, one that isn't afraid of power, visibility, or success, one that is ready to stop surviving the battle and start winning it from the inside out. A loudest voice in your life should not be the world, it should be the one inside you saying, I was made for more. But for too long, you've let the noise of the outside drown out the whisper within. You've tuned in to the expectations, the criticisms, the opinions of people who don't even know the weight of your calling. You've measured your worth by likes, your value by applause, your direction by trends. And in the process, you've forgotten that the most important approval doesn't come from them, it comes from the mirror. From the moment you choose to believe in the voice you were born with. That voice inside you has been speaking for years. You heard it when you were young, dreaming without filters. You heard it when you sat in classrooms, not just listening, but feeling like you were meant for something different. You heard it in the quiet moments, driving alone, staring at the ceiling late at night, standing in rooms where you felt out of place because your spirit knew there was more. That voice has never left you. It only got buried under responsibilities, distractions, and the pressure to be realistic. And what the world calls realistic often means small. It means stay where it's safe. It means don't make people uncomfortable. But greatness never comes from staying silent to keep others calm. It comes from listening to that voice that refuses to die. No matter how many times you've ignored it, that voice is your truth. It doesn't yell, it doesn't demand, it simply waits with patience, but never with permission. And every time you act like it's not there, a piece of you goes quiet with it. But you can't silence your soul forever. Sooner or later, it finds ways to remind you in frustration, in burnout, in moments where everything looks fine on the outside, but inside you feel empty because you know you're not giving the world the real you, only the filtered, edited, approved version. And no matter how polished that version looks, it will never satisfy the part of you that was born to lead. That part doesn't want applause. It wants alignment. It wants truth. And until you start listening, life will always feel like you're playing a role you were never meant to audition for. You have a message, a gift, a power that was planted in you for a reason. But that power doesn't rise until your voice does. Not the voice that says what's expected, the voice that says what's necessary. The voice that tells the truth even when it shakes. The voice that dares to dream out loud, to call out the limits, to declare, I'm not here to repeat what's been done. I'm here to do what's never. That voice won't just change your life, it will shift everyone connected to your purpose. So stop waiting for the world to give you permission to speak up. Stop asking for validation from people who don't carry your vision. The loudest voice in your life should be the one that knows what's possible, not the one that fears what's unfamiliar. And that voice is already inside you, waiting to be trusted, waiting to lead, waiting to show you what happens when you finally decide to live as if you were truly made for more. Every time you choose faith over fear, focus over distraction, and purpose over comfort, you rewrite your destiny. Life is constantly presenting you with choices, and most of them aren't loud. They're quiet, subtle, ordinary-looking moments where your decision seems small, but its impact is massive. It's in those moments you are either building a future you want or reinforcing the one you're desperate to escape. And too often, we don't even notice how one moment of comfort can become the reason for years of regret. Because destiny doesn't move in dramatic explosions. It moves in consistent, unseen choices when no one is watching. Fear will always be the easiest option. It's designed to keep you safe, small, and still. It will give you 1,000 logical reasons why you shouldn't move forward. It will remind you of your past, replay your failures, and flood your mind with what ifs. But fear never leads, it only limits. And every time you choose to believe in your potential instead, not because you have all the answers, but because you know there's more inside you, you start to shift the course of your life, degree by degree. It may feel slow, but one powerful choice creates momentum. And momentum is what begins to silence fear. Distraction is fear's partner. It comes dressed as productivity, busyness, entertainment, and even rest. It convinces you that tomorrow is a better day to begin, that next week you'll be more ready. But time doesn't serve the distracted, it serves the focused. Every time you protect your focus, you make a decision to stop giving away the energy meant for your vision. You train your mind to stop being hijacked by every ping, post, or problem. And in that discipline, you don't just gain clarity, you gain power. Because nothing is more powerful than a person who knows what matters and refuses to give their attention to anything less. Comfort is the most deceptive trap of all. It feels good, it feels earned, It feels safe. But what starts as a reward quickly becomes a prison. Comfort doesn't challenge you. It doesn't stretch you. It doesn't prepare you for the calling on your life. Purpose, on the other hand, is uncomfortable by design. It makes you confront your insecurities. It forces you to grow, to risk, to speak when you'd rather stay silent. But when you choose purpose, you choose legacy. You choose impact. You choose a life that won't just be remembered, but felt by everyone you touch. The world will never hand you the perfect moment to be bold. You will always have reasons to pause, to wait, to analyze. But breakthrough comes when you decide that your future matters more than your excuses. It comes when you realize that fear may never disappear, but it doesn't have to drive. When you start showing up for yourself consistently, your confidence isn't built on hype, it's built on integrity. And integrity is what keeps you steady when the storms come, because they will come. But when you've trained yourself to choose faith, focus, and purpose, those storms don't break you, they build you. You're not just making choices, you're creating patterns. Patterns become habits. Habits become character, and character becomes destiny. Every time you choose the higher path, when it would be easier not to, you're building a future version of yourself who walks with clarity, strength, and conviction. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Because you learned to say no to what was easy and yes to what was essential. And that kind of power can't be given. It has to be earned, decision by decision, day by day. You don't need a sign, you are the sign. Your breakthrough begins the moment you decide your mind is no longer for rent to mediocrity. For too long, you've been waiting for the perfect conditions, the right timing, or an external signal to move forward. You've looked outside yourself for validation, searching the horizon for a green light that seems to never come. But the truth is, the only signal you ever needed was inside you all along. It's the decision to stop renting your mind to fear, doubt, and limitation, and to start owning it with unwavering confidence. This world is full of distractions, excuses, and noise designed to keep you small and compliant. But within you lies a powerful mind that was built to dream, to create, and to rise above circumstance. When you realize you are the author of your story, the leader of your thoughts, you stop being a passenger and start steering your life with purpose. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you take responsibility for what you allow to occupy your mind, what you nurture, what you believe, and what you refuse to entertain. Every breakthrough starts with a mindset shift. It's the moment you refuse to settle for less than you know you're worth. It's the moment you recognize that your current reality is a reflection of your past thinking, not your future potential. And so you begin to challenge the narratives that have held you back. The I'm not enough, the this is too hard, the maybe someday. You start replacing those thoughts with the truth that you are capable, deserving, and ready right now. This isn't just positive thinking. It's a conscious decision to rewrite your inner script. Owning your mind means taking control over what you feed it daily. The books you read, the conversations you engage in, the media you consume, all of it shapes your mental environment. If you want to rise, you must be intentional about what you allow in. You must guard your mind like a fortress, because a fertile mind produces a fertile life. And when your mind is fertile with faith, courage, and clarity, your actions will follow suit. You'll find doors opening that were once closed. Opportunities will start to show up in unexpected places because your mind has aligned with your purpose. It's important to remember that your breakthrough isn't dependent on luck or external validation. It depends on your commitment to mastering your inner world. Every great success story is the result of someone who took control of their thoughts before they took control of their circumstances. They didn't wait for the right conditions, they created them by changing the way they thought and responded. And that's exactly what you're capable of doing today. Deciding that your mind is yours alone and that you will no longer lease it out to anything less than greatness. This choice requires courage, persistence, and self-awareness. It asks you to be honest with yourself about where your mind has been and where you want it to go. But it also promises that when you claim your mental power, you become unstoppable. Your breakthrough is not a distant event. It's a daily practice of choosing the thoughts that lift you higher and reject the ones that hold you back. You are the sign, the signal, and the source of your own success. And the moment you fully embrace that truth, your life begins to change in ways you never thought possible. Now's the time to stop waiting for permission from the world, from others, or even from yourself to step into the greatness that's been quietly waiting inside you, the power to control your mind, to shift your story, and to create the success you desire has always been within your reach. But power unused is power lost. So I challenge you today. Decide that your thoughts will no longer be the prison that holds you back, but the foundation that propels you forward. Take control of your mind with courage and conviction. Step boldly into the life you were meant to live. Your future is waiting, but it will never arrive until you choose to lead your mind and your life. The time is now. Own it.